Welcome to Movement, Rhythm, and Conversation, the show where we delve into the profound impact of religion, spark provoking conversation, explore the world through an open-minded perspective. I'm your host, Tafari, here to bring you engaging discussions, eye-opening stories, and conversation that pulls no punches. Whether it's faith, culture, creativity, or real-life experience, we keep it raw, honest, and unfiltered.
One interesting thing is how similar many religions are. Despite being from different parts of the world, they repeat the same themes: a great flood, a chosen people, a dying and rising God, a sacred book, a final judgment. These aren't coincidences. These ideas speak to shared human fears and hopes. But instead of seeing this as evidence of truth, it makes more sense to see it as evidence of human psychology. And in many cases, religion became a mirror of the power structures around it. In societies ruled by kings, gods were often seen as kings too. In societies built on conquest, gods were warriors. In deeply unequal societies, religion told people that inequality was part of the divine plan, that the rich were blessed, the poor were tested. That kind of belief kept people in their place. When colonial powers took over new territories, they often used religion as a tool. Missionaries came first. Soldiers came later. Religion softened resistance. It rebranded conquest as salvation. It told people to trade their old beliefs for new ones, while often taking their land, their language, their freedom. The spread of religion was rarely peaceful. It rode on the back of empires.
Well, the church has become, for the most part, a very lucrative economic business for those who run it. Preachers, the deacon boards, the board of directors, they're making money, billions of dollars every year off of the poorest people in the population, pulling on their desperation and their hopes and aspirations, but not delivering anything to them except some emotional comfort, some psychological comfort for the most part of the community. But too many of them, you see the mega churches and people riding around with planes, private airplanes. How do you have a private airplane when there's one person impoverished in your population? Got their Rolls Royce and the Mercedes and their big $1 million homes. How do you do that? That is profane unless everybody in your congregation have an opportunity to rise out of poverty. Because each of the churches in the early days of our building these churches was a village. It was a communal, collective, cooperative village. The church was at the core and the center of it. But now the church had become an economic addendum that do the same kind of exploitation that the capitalists and the imperialists, rapists, and genocider have been doing to us for centuries. And so those who are seeing people asking for a different church, and those who are seeing people are looking to other alternative ways of finding the divine within and without, they're the ones making those criticisms, Tell them to show me their congregation. Tell them to show me in their congregation that they've stopped the rape, that they've stopped the incest, that they've stopped the drug, that they've stopped destroying the youth like they did Whitney Houston and so many others. Her destruction didn't come from Bobby Brown. It came from the church. And Whitney was just, and baby, I'm not defaming you. I'm just using you as an example. You're just an example of how they've destroyed so many of our babies, using the church as a cover for Eurocentric demonism, without understanding that church that the European bought is a house of demons. Our people were able to transform it because we had no choice to maintain. We had to maintain its facade, but we transform its internal being. Now there are those who are trying to make the facade the internal being.
That was two different perspectives from Cold Reason podcast and Professor James Small. You would think that after centuries of chains, whips, rape, land theft, forced conversion, colonization, and genocide, all done in the name of the white European religion, Black people would be the first to run from it like a house on fire. But the irony is chilling. We didn't just keep the religion of our oppressor. We embraced it. We elevated it. We built our entire life, our values, relationship, and future on the doctrine soaked in our ancestors' blood. What's even more laughable, if it weren't so tragic, is that the very people who brought us this religion don't even believe in it themselves. White Europeans have largely abandoned the church they built. Their cathedrals are empty. Their pulpits are dusty. Their sermons traded for secularism and science. Yet, in the Black community, church is still king. Bible study is still sacred. Sunday morning is still ritual. And the God of our oppressor still reigns as if he descended directly into Harlem or Atlanta or DC or Lagos himself. We are a people so conditioned for slavery that we can't see the chains when they are dressed in scripture. We call it faith. We call it tradition. We call it salvation. But what it really is obedience, blind generational obedience. That was a couple of paragraphs from my book, People of the Mystic. What's good, my people? You already know what this is. Movement, rhythm, and conversation. I'm your host, Tafari, where we break the mental chain, challenge the lies, and reclaim what was stolen from us. Today is going to be very uncomfortable for some, and that's exactly why we need it. So, sit tight, open your mind. Let's talk about something that continues to hunt and hold our people hostage. European religion and the psychological chokehold it still has on the Black minds. Today's episode is titled Obedience or Salvation, the Curse of European Religion in the Black Mind. Let's get into it. You would think that after all the evil done in the name of white Jesus, after the chains, the whips, the colonization, the stolen land, the stolen names, the raped women, the destroyed families, the burned villages, that we as Black people would run from European religion like it was the plague, but instead we baptized ourselves in it. We didn't just keep religion of our oppressor, we made it sacred. We made it personal. We called it the truth. Meanwhile, the very people who forced it on us don't even follow it anymore. European churches are empty. Europeans are secular. They gave us their Bible, but they kept their power. And now they watch from a distance as we bow, not to God, but to their system of control. We are so conditioned from slavery that we don't recognize the chains when they are wrapped in scripture. We hear things like, God saved me from drugs, or if it wasn't for Jesus, I'll still be in the streets. And I'm not here to disrespect anyone's journey. But let's be honest. Did God save you, or did you hit rock bottom and decide to save yourself? Because I know people, many people, who changed their lives without opening a Bible. They didn't need a white Jesus. They needed a decision. They needed accountability. They needed truth. And here's the hard part. I've seen people who claim God delivered them, relapse, and die. Drugs took them. Alcohol drowned them. Depression silenced them. Where was this all-powerful, all-loving God then? We've been taught to give credit where it doesn't belong and then blame ourselves when salvation failed. But let me tell you what happens when you start telling these truths in our community. You become the villain. You become the antichrist. You become the one playing with fire. I've had people look at me like I betrayed my race just because I questioned the faith that was never ours to begin with. The power that the white man still has over our people, even when he's not present, is beyond comprehension. He doesn't need to enslave you physically anymore. His religion already has your soul. And all I've ever asked is this. Is this about salvation or is it about obedience? Because European religion was never given to us to save us. It was weaponized to control us. It's why we can't think outside of it, why we fight each other over it, why we fear leaving it. We've been programmed to believe that without this white God, we're nothing. And I say we were everything before they gave us their God. We had our own gods, our own ritual, our own rhythm, our own connection to the divine universe. And they stripped it away and replaced it with obedience masked as holiness.
The worst evil people tend to be religious because if they can't control you, they will quote the Bible and use that to control you. Religious people will weaponize the Bible to control you. Highly religious people will say things like, God told me. Well, great. He can tell me. I prayed about it. Who did you talk to? Did you dial up the dark side of the force? Who answered? And sometimes what religious people will do, they will try and shove you into their religious system. And sometimes there are schools of thought or entire books that are written by religious, dysfunctional, evil people to create control in generations of family systems. They're like, you just need to read this book. Well, you know what? I got this other book. I think I'm going to keep reading that.
So today, I say this to my community, not out of hate, but out of love. Unchain your mind, reclaim your soul. Ask the hard questions. Challenge the inherent lies. And remember, you don't need the slave master religion to be righteous. You don't need white validation to be divine. You were born with power, born with rhythm, born with truth in your bones. Let's stop worshiping what was used to break us. Let's start honoring what we were before we were ever slaves. This is Movement, Rhythm, and Conversation. I'm your host, Tafari, and this is how we reclaim our story.